Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are unpacking something genuinely fascinating. We're looking at this wildly popular hour-long looping audio track from Motivation Hub. It's titled, Listen to This Every Night. I Am Affirmations for Success, Wealth, Health, and Happiness. And, if you're wondering what a continuous hour of I am statements actually does to your brain, besides making you incredibly aware of your own breathing, well, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to deconstruct this massive stream of consciousness audio to really understand the exact architecture of the mindset it's trying to build. All right, let's dive right in.
Right off the bat, I want to immerse you in the mindset of this source material. I am the difference that will make the difference. This specific phrase is repeated over and over throughout the loop, and it's just such an incredibly empowering statement. It takes the locus of control and shifts it entirely inward. It's telling the listener, hey, no external savior, no lucky break, and definitely no random coincidence is going to change your life. You are the variable. You are the difference.
And that leads us perfectly to the core thesis of the whole transcript. A great life doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. What's so interesting here is how it positions these affirmations. Because a lot of times we think of affirmations as just passive, happy little thoughts we repeat to ourselves in the mirror, right? But the source frames them as something way more mechanical. They are an active mental blueprint. You aren't just wishing for a better life, you are actively designing it.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. How can listening to these simple I am statements, especially every single night like the track recommends, how can that fundamentally redesign your success, wealth, health, and happiness? Well, looking at the transcript, we've organized this seemingly endless stream of audio into 4 actionable pillars of personal architecture. We're going to see exactly how this track reconstructs your mindset from the ground up.
Pillar 1, bidding farewell to the past. Look, before you can even begin building a new mindset, the source makes it crystal clear. You have to clear the construction site. I mean, you can't build a skyscraper on a foundation of crumbling old bricks, right? You literally have to abandon old habits to take up new positive ones. It talks all about letting go of those old negative beliefs that have stood in your way forever just to make room for exciting new possibilities. It's an active eviction of the mental habits that just don't serve you anymore.
The transcript actually puts it super bluntly. I let go of any negative feelings about myself or my life and accept all that is good. This specific intentional release of self-doubt is the mandatory first step. The source absolutely insists that the mind has to be wiped clean, totally free of historical baggage, so it's prepped and ready to accept the positive programming coming next. Because if your mind is full of doubt, well, there's zero room for design.
All right, moving on to Pillar 2, the architect of your fate.
So, the site is cleared. Now, the intentional construction of your self-worth actually begins. And this architectural metaphor is pulled straight out of the audio. I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents. Think about that. You are positioned as the sole creator of your reality. You get to decide exactly what thoughts, what feelings, and what beliefs get to live inside the structure of your mind. You are the architect, the builder, and the interior designer of your own fate.
So, what materials are we actually building with here? The source lays out your biggest assets: confidence, a positive attitude, self-belief, and vitality. Notice anything about those? None of them are external. They aren't money, they aren't who you know, they aren't a fancy college degree. They are 100% internally generated states of being. And to generate those specific states, the track leans hard into relentless repetition. Things like, I acknowledge my own self-worth, my confidence is rising. By repeating this nightly, the goal is just to normalize feeling totally assured and strong in your day-to-day life. The transcript even talks about making decisions based on the superstar I am becoming. It's taking that idealized superstar version of yourself and turning it into a daily functional reality.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, transforming failure into growth.
Because here's the thing. Once you've cleared the past and built up your confidence, you're going to hit the real world. And the real world, it has obstacles. This requires a massive psychological pivot. These affirmations don't live in some fantasy land. They don't pretend that mistakes or failures just magically don't exist. Instead, they reframe failure as raw material for growth. Almost like an alchemist turning lead into gold, you are instructed to turn mistakes into favorable results. It's just an incredibly pragmatic approach to positivity.
And it goes a step further. I can never fail, for everything that happens contributes to me being better. Imagine that. If you truly believe that every single outcome, even the really bad ones, is just a contribution to your ultimate improvement,
The fear of taking risks simply evaporates. It completely eliminates that hesitation that stops so many people from exploring new avenues to success. What the speaker is really doing here is forging an armored mindset for you. By embracing the challenge, staying open-minded, working well under pressure, and remaining totally calm, the listener is prepared to face absolutely any fear. Your ability to conquer obstacles becomes, as the audio explicitly puts it, limitless. It's not just preparing you to survive the storm, it's teaching you how to harness its energy. And finally, Pillar 4, designing your future legacy. We are at the enthusiastic crescendo of the audio track now, and for an hour of literally nothing but spoken words, there's a pretty brilliant twist. My actions speaks louder than my words. It emphasizes that the ultimate goal of listening to these vocal affirmations every night isn't just to feel warm and fuzzy while you fall asleep. The actual goal is physical, intentional action in the real world the second you wake up. The transcript lays out this super practical progression for making that happen. First, you actively choose to direct your thoughts. That's the affirmation phase. Then, you act on the inspiration those thoughts generate. And finally, the really critical leap. You take the necessary action regardless of how you feel in the moment. You move directly from abstract thought to concrete action, pushing right past any of that lingering emotional resistance. You string those daily actions together, and well, I am creating my legacy every single day. This beautifully bridges the gap between a small, simple habit, like listening to an audio loop in bed, and making a powerful, lasting contribution to the world. A legacy isn't just something that happens at the very end of your life. It's something being actively constructed by your daily design.
As we start to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this one incredibly powerful realization from the track, My Future is Unwritten, and I have the power to change. It perfectly underscores the intense personal agency and limitless potential that this audio track is trying to instill in its listeners. The pages are blank, and you are the one holding the pen.
So, having deconstructed this entire blueprint for success, wealth, health, and happiness, the question really goes back to you. Will you choose to be the difference in your life today? What if you started applying this mental architecture yourself? Maybe even commit to listening to this every night, starting tonight. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I challenge you to go out there and design the life you actually want. See you next time.